I was just wondering if I could make it to the spring rolls without hearing a single comment about how I lost or gained weight. It's always one or the other, isn't it? I think we all grow up with a great awareness of our own bodies and of those around us. It's just human nature. The nursery rhymes have said it well: head, shoulders, knees, and toes. We know we have a head, we know we have arms, we know we've got knees, we know we've got a waist, etc. And then at some point, a secondary awareness settles in. Now it's not just I have a head or I've got arms. It suddenly becomes, you know what? I've got big legs. I've got flabby arms. Ooh, she got a tiny waist. And when the secondary awareness settles in is the make it or break it moment that determines whether we become at peace with our bodies or at war with it. And definitely, for me, this secondary awareness settled in when I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I received a comment that I had huge hips, not broad or large, but humongous. And that is when I learned that this standard existed, that there was this optimal waist to hip ratio, and somehow I was an outlier in that category. After that, I quickly learned that there are other ways to be an outlier. Let's say having broad and athletic calves as opposed to feminine calves, having a belly that was even just remotely bulging out from the side, and not having a thigh gap. I spent most of my life being at war with my body. My body was my shelter, but I never felt at home in it. In Filipino culture, we are all somehow made aware of this very fine and narrow beauty standard, whether it is in the media and celebrity culture, or even through the beliefs and comments of the people around us, our friends and family included. Only in the last few years can I say that I've truly begun to make a home in my body. Outwardly looking, I've actually been this weight and this size before at many other points in my life, but only now am I feeling this profound sense of self-worth. And that is when I discovered that true self-confidence is devoid of any links to physical appearance. That if we build our confidence on physical milestones, we're really just building on quicksand. In today's video, I want to look back at some of the crooked body image beliefs that led me to that puddle of quicksand, and how I've learned to respond to these voices, whether they're external or internal. Let's go take a walk. When I started university, I didn't expect how much it would take out of me. But I wanted to work so hard for it that I kept putting a lot on my plate. By the end of my first year, in between juggling 7 to 8 courses per semester, having a part-time job, and being in charge of extracurricular activities, I was overworked, anxious, in the middle of a depressive episode, and struggling with a chronic disease. I knew that through all of this, I wasn't taking care of myself at all. I was barely sleeping or resting. I was eating fast food almost every day, and I allotted no time for hobbies or physical wellness. And yet, all of this only manifested through one physically visible symptom: my 30-pound weight gain. Think about it, all of those struggles into one physically observable trait. By the end of my second year, I was at a mental low and I wanted to crawl myself out of it. I decided that I would make drastic lifestyle changes in order to finally begin to take care of myself. I cut my course load by half. I made it a point to cook my own meals and to shop for healthier ingredients. And I invested in my physical wellness by getting a gym membership and going jogging. For the first time in many years, it seemed I had clarity over my life. I felt so much happier as these lifestyle changes allowed me to recover from my chronic disease and my depressive episode. And yet, all of this improvement was only physically visible through one symptom: my 40-pound weight loss. It was at this moment that I heard this comment from a family friend. You probably attract lots of suitors now that you're skinny. It made me feel so insecure about what I was doing. It instilled in me that my desirability, worth, and beauty were only visible through my weight loss. It propelled me into this belief that I had to stay this weight and this size indefinitely through control. And control came through working out and what I ate. I became so much stricter about what I ate. Before, it was all about striking a balance between healthy food that I enjoyed. Then it was all about having healthy and low-calorie food all the time, regardless of if I enjoyed it or not. I was working out 7 days a week because a missed workout or healthy meal felt like a step back. It was all a callback to those moments when you're at a party and you just hope you get to the spring rolls without anyone stopping you to tell you that you've gained or lost weight. It's always one or the other, isn't it? It's the constant striving to stay within the standard. When COVID hit, all of that control was gone. The gyms were closed and I took a break from meal prepping since I was studying remotely. That is when I learned that to gain full control is the quickest way to lose it. Because when just one factor falls short, you come straight tumbling down, which is something I think the pandemic taught us in many ways. Since then, I made a hobby of finding healthy ingredients to prepare food that was flavorful and enjoyable. I started filling the pantry with condiments and ingredients that were atypical to the type of food that I grew up around. And something I heard a lot during this time was, "You're eating healthy, eh? You must be trying to lose weight. You're on a diet, right?" In the culture I grew up in, diet is equated to weight loss or someone trying to lose weight. Growing up, I viewed diet as a set of very strict eating rules that one had to follow if you wanted to lose weight. Then for the first time in my life, I Googled diet and discovered that it meant nothing more than what a person eats or drinks, no relation to weight loss whatsoever. And then I started to ask myself, what is my diet? What did I want my diet to be? What's for dinner? Is it my constant fear or is it my complete abandon? I wanted neither. I grew up in a Filipino home. I grew up in a world of colorful food and flavor. It took 3 years of juggling, but I finally settled on a diet. A diet of giving my food a purpose to nourish and a purpose to deliver joy. I used to think that eating healthy meant a lifetime of eating steamed broccolis and baked chicken breast. I now thrive on a well-balanced diet that favors wholesome ingredients while keeping the Asian flavors I grew up with intact. But when your grass is green, you may begin to ask yourself if the grass is greener on the other side. Do I need to be as skinny as her? Should I be working out as much as her? Should I be more restrictive in the way I eat? Modern times have made it more possible to do this without ever even squinting your eyes to see if the grass is greener on the other side. Now, you only have to scroll. As a beginner in my own fitness journey, social media played a huge role in steering my boat. I figured if I just did exactly what he or she did at the gym, what they ate, I would look exactly like them. But I forgot one thing. I wasn't them. The way our bodies respond to physical activity and food consumption are determined by so many individual factors. Fat deposition, metabolism, muscle growth rate are all influenced by genetics. Her 2-week muscle building program can take you more or less time to achieve the same progress. Her 2-week cleanse might take a bit of tweaking in order to adapt to your body's caloric needs. I still take to these accounts from time to time, but I now take each post, suggestion, or video with a grain of salt. I no longer expect my body to respond to these activities at the same rate or efficiency, and I've learned to adapt them to my current lifestyle and athletic ability. Ultimately, our unique genetic code, experiences, and environment distinguish us from each other. So why should one standard and way of doing rule over us all? Getting yourself into a disordered way of eating and viewing your body takes time. Getting out of it takes even longer. When I decided to leave behind my extremely restrictive diet, I was already 6 months into it. Then it took me more than a year to say that I was fully comfortable with having a meal that I once branded as unhealthy or cheating without feeling like I committed a big mistake. Recovery isn't linear, as many say. To me, it occurred in waves. There were times when I felt like I was getting swept up again in the fitness rage. And then I had to remind myself that getting anywhere near a restrictive program would only propel me back into having unhealthy body images and expectations. Giving up control is hard once you've gotten a taste of it. I came across this book. It's by Lauren Gerson and it's called The Invisible Corset. Here's my favorite passage. If we hold the expectation that our bodies are obligated to make our lives convenient, and we make life plans without consulting our body's desires, that's an ownership. If we believe we have the right to impose our cultural values on our bodies without our body's consent, that's an ownership. If we believe we have the right to force our bodies to act, look, and behave in a way that is fundamentally antagonistic to who our bodies truly are, that's an ownership. Instead of honoring the unique reality of our bodies, we fall into the fallacy that our bodies should conform to some fictional alternative reality. Ultimately, this book taught me to begin a partnership with my body as opposed to the ownership I've had over it for my whole life. Partnership requires trust, and that is something I never gave my body. I grew up in a family of 3 girls. Comparison was inevitable. So was physical typecasting. Getting branded as the fat one, the fattest one, the skinniest one. I've learned that these external voices are double-edged swords. The yardstick you use to measure others, you most likely use to measure yourself. The body image culture has been constantly evolving, with more and more emphasis being placed on body positivity and body acceptance. Is this a lasting change or merely a passing trend? Only time will tell. I've seen 24 years pass by. I've gained up to 30 pounds. I've lost up to 40. But none mattered more than losing the weight I had in my mind and on my shoulders. May we all find peace within our ever changing bodies.